back here at the NRA National Firearms Museum here in Fairfax, Virginia with Senior Curator Phil Schreier. Phil, we're wrapping up this first series of segments of Curator's Corner, focusing on a, you're going to tell us more, but a famous war correspondent photographer, the iconic photos, and also the firearms featured in those iconic photos. Tell us who we're talking about here.
That's right, John. We're talking about Robert Capa, who was born 100 years ago on October 22nd. And he's long been an idol of mine. And his photography of the Spanish Civil War, World War II, Indochina, Israel, Palestine, iconic photos. He shaped the way photojournalism is today, from his original photo of a falling soldier taken in Spain in 1936, all the way up to literally the last photographs he took in French Indochina in 1954, where he lost his life tragically to a landmine.
And we talk about being embedded, you know, journalists and things. This was, we didn't have a fancy term back then. He just was there. You talked about him being on the beach on D-Day in Normandy. I mean, just amazing, crazy stuff, but stuff that, you know, has given us it's incredible, you know, iconic photos. And really, there's something about still photography versus film or video that just gives you a slice of time and really helps to just, you know what they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. It just, they say so much. So tell us about this photo here.
Well, John, this photo is a picture of some Israelis manning some defensive barricades in Jerusalem in 1948. Wow. During the Arab-Israeli War for independence. And so in this photograph, you see an Israeli soldier with what looks normally like just a regular Mauser. And also, you got to like the Lewis gun in the background.
I was going to say, look at that
cool
thing.
Lewis gun in the background. But this Mauser, as you can see from a detail in the photo, has an enlarged trigger guard.
Okay.
So that kind of helps us narrow down exactly what type of Mauser that Israeli is holding in the photograph. And the ones with the large trigger guards just happen to be a Czechoslovakian make. Oh, okay. And these were originally 8mm made during World War II. They were modified and then sold to the Israelis, who used them with great relish during the wars in 1948. They were converted to .308 caliber.
Okay.
So these aren't just World War II surplus. They've been upgraded a little bit, converted to a new caliber, and that trigger guard, they call it the winter trigger guard. I don't think they get a whole lot of snow in Jerusalem, do you?
Not that I know of, no.
I don't think that large trigger guard was going to come in handy, but it was there nonetheless. But it helps us identify a great photo that Capa had of these guys fighting for their independence.
So originally, winter being larger, like a gloved hand would be able to...
You get it gloved.
Right.
Yeah, usually something more substantial.
Right, yes, a big glove. Like, so, you know, so Phil, we talked earlier in another segment about how these firearms would make it from one place to another, and it's kind of interesting timeline with the firearms. So these were Czechoslovakian, and then they were modified. So where would the modifications take place?
At the Brno factory in Czechoslovakia.
Okay, so they made it, and they made it, wow.
Then they sold overseas. Yeah, you know, I had a great story. You know, I you know, kind of the whole deal of me wanting to become a war photographer was based on Capa's exploits, and not that I ever held out any hope I'd date Ingrid Bergman like he did, but at any rate, it couldn't have hurt, right?
It never would.
One great story is Capa was in an C-47 getting ready to drop into Sicily with the 82nd Airborne, and one of the soldiers next to him looked at him and said, "What exactly are you here for?" And he says, "Well, I'm here to take photos." He said, "You're here because you want to be?" And he said, "Yeah." And the guy looked at him and he says, "I've got to be here. You wanting to be here, you're crazy." And I actually had almost that word line for line exchange in Iraq when somebody found out I had paid to be in Iraq to cover the 101st Airborne. He's like, "I got to be here. What the hell's your mental problem, you know?"
And you got, I'm sure in the back of your head, shades of Capa going through your head.
That's exactly what ran through my head at the time. So for one brief shining moment.
There you go.
But it's been great being able to pay homage to one of my idols and one of the world's greatest war photographers. John, thanks for allowing us to do that today.
And don't worry, folks. During while we're taping these segments here at the National Firearms Museum, we're plotting with Phil here and my buddy Lars here off camera what the next homage is going to be. So I think we're going to come back with more. It was a great idea. Before we go, tell folks how they can see firearms like this, iconic firearms, classics, treasures here at the Firearms Museum.
John, you can visit us in Fairfax, Virginia, 7 days a week, free of charge, plenty of parking between 9:30 and 5, right off Interstate 66. If you can't make us off the interstate, visit us on the internet 24/7, obviously, at NRAmuseum.com. And if you happen to be traveling through the Ozarks on your way to Branson or Southwest Missouri, don't forget to stop by Bass Pro's headquarters store in Springfield, Missouri to see the new NRA Sporting Arms Museum. It's a pretty snazzy shirt you got there, John. I wonder where that came from.
A friend of mine gave it to me.
There you go.
All right, Phil, thank you so much. More Curators. This particular series is over, but more Curators Corner coming up here on Sportsman's Channel next week. So we'll see you then. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.